Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. So, today we're talking about children and families. And children often speak in behavior long before they speak words. It could be a tantrum on the floor, a door being slammed, in ways that we just don't comprehend. And in a sense, they're really saying, please don't leave. Don't leave me alone. And for the little ones, it could be, this thing happened faster than I expected it to. And so now I'm just doing what I know, what's best. It's to scream, it's to yell. And even the children that are silent, their silence can be so loud. And parents tell me this in 100 different ways. They say things like, we love each other, but we just can't seem to figure out what's happening. Nothing is really going on in our family. And I want to tell you, there's nothing wrong in your family when these things are happening. What's happening is our emotions, our human just brain is sometimes stressed and overwhelmed. And that stress makes it hard to articulate the words that we need to say. And so this is typical of the families that I work with. So, what we want to do is work to create a home where feelings can be safe, and we can also allow love to guide us as we listen rather than frustration. So, I met a little girl who, her name was Maria, and she loved to draw. During our first session, she sat with a box of crayons quietly, just saying nothing. When I asked how she felt that day, she pulled out a gray crayon and began to sketch what looked like a storm. And there was clouds and lightning, and there was a stick figure in the rain. And I said, wait a minute, who's that? And she shrugged and said, that's me before bedtime. Her words were just precise. She didn't say, I'm anxious or I feel butterflies, but her drawing was a map. And together we followed that map. And I taught Maria and her mother a game called Name That Color. And for red, it was mad, right? And for blue, it would be sad. Yellow would be worried. Green for calm. And some nights Maria chose two colors in swirls if she felt sad and angry. But naming the swirl is what really mattered because emotions rarely show up alone. And so her being able to mix those colors with the crayons made honesty possible for her. At the end of 2 months, Maria didn't just draw her feelings, she spoke them. She'd say, I'm red and blue because you're going out and I'm afraid I'm going to miss you. She'd say that to her mother while she handed her a crayon. And over time, the storm that she initially drew, it became smaller. Why is it that when we name our emotions, it helps us, even though we feel them? And this is something that I get asked all the time. And it's really about allowing our brains to process what we're actually feeling. Our brain's alarms go off, our heart races, our breathing increases, muscles start to prepare for flight or freeze. And this is our body's way of protecting us. But in the alarm mode, the prefrontal cortex, that's the thought portion of our brain, the language rich part of our brain, it begins to dim. And no amount of explaining or, hey, stop that yelling, you're getting on my nerves, it's getting crazy, is going to tame it. And that's why we need to label our emotions. It recruits that part of the brain that our children are still developing to help them be able to say, I'm angry. And it turns into something that can become a shared story rather than a feeling that just gets erased and put away. Once we name that emotion, the child is able to say, okay, this is what I'm feeling. And we can proceed from there. From a scriptural context, the Bible tells us that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and he rescues those whose spirits are crushed. We find that scripture in Psalms 34 and 18. And this is just God's way of telling us, like, I understand all of these emotions that you're feeling, that your child is feeling. And they may feel crushed in that moment because they feel like they're going to be separated from you, even if you're just going on a date or you're just hanging out with friends or putting them to bed. But whatever the case may be, allowing them to name that emotion and walking them through that process is going to bring a world of change. Like I said, with Maria, she and her mom started this process of the coloring, and it's gotten so much better. And I can even relate to this with my own child, where she would have these big emotions, and we would have to sit down and try to name them or use stuffed animals like from the movie with the different emotions, anxiety, anger, sadness, all of that. And it helped her to really be able to not only express what she was feeling, but to let me know that she was going to be okay. And I think she let herself know that she was going to be okay as well. Because when we were able to label the emotion and she was able to express it, it just made the path smoother, even for me, because as much training as I've gotten, it's startling when your child is screaming at the top of their lungs because they're upset about something. And so I want to leave you all with this. Your child is trying to communicate something with you, even through their nonverbals. And everything that we do, from our facial expressions to the way that we respond to them, really determines the closeness and the bond that we're going to be able to have in that moment with our child. So, if you want more information about this topic and what we've been talking about, keep watching these videos. There's more to come soon. Take care. Until next time. Bye bye.